You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt Mayer on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matt Mayer, who is currently vacating, deservedly, relaxingly, and she misses you all. She'll be back before you know it, but you got me. You got Sweet Cal B, a.k.a. the Board Lord, on the ones and twos today. Hey, how you doing today, Calvin?
I'm doing fantastic, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing peachy keen. I woke up this morning, I woke up really early this morning, like 4:45 this morning, and I just was full of gusto and life and purpose, and I came into work early, and I got stuff done, and I did that thing where you just can work in a space with no one around, and you're like, I'm getting more work done than ever, and just felt really good. So I've got a lot of coffee in my system, Calvin, so that's going to be really fun throughout the show. So if I just start babbling more than usual, just kind of give me a signal. But we're going to have a really great show for you today. It's very, very packed. It's Thursday, which means 9:35 exactly, actually. After the news, Jim Santelli is a former U.S. attorney, currently a practicing attorney, and the host of Amicus, a law review, which is on every Saturday on the Civic Media Radio Network. He will be our guest, as usual, on Thursday. He breaks down all the information that's coming out of the world of law. Lots happening here and abroad, including an update on the case of Judge Hannah Dugan. We're going to talk about the L.A. occupation from the National Guard. We're also going to speak about a ruling that came down yesterday about Harvard University and their ability to get funding and what they are entitled to and not. So 9:35 is when Jim will be joining us. And then, of course, it's Thursday. Brittany Merlot is here with Weather and Wine, giving us the cooler outlook because it's getting cooler. Fall is creeping closer and closer, Calvin. We're both in hoodie weather right now, like both rocking hoodies. It's very, very comfy. And then, did I say 10:35? I'm going to say 10:22. That's Brittany Merlot. That's Brittany Merlot coming at 10:22. And then 10:35 is J.R. Radcliffe. He is one of our sports gurus. He is a writer for the Journal Sentinel, and he'll be talking all things sports, Brewers, Packers, and now Badgers. The Badger season has started. We'll be getting an update. And maybe if we have time, we'll talk about that weird interaction between a pitcher and a catcher in Major League Baseball. But you're going to have to stick around to be a part of that. You're going to have to stay close, stay tuned. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can call us or text us the same number, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Or if you're on the live stream right now, you can leave a comment. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. And yeah, we're going to have, it's going to be, and Calvin, how could I have forgotten? How could I have forgotten the last segment of the show? Some would say the most popular. This shouldn't be a thing at 10:52. Today, it's the Shell of a Guy edition. Very, very proud of that title. This shouldn't be a thing at 10:52. It's going to be really, really fun. Great show. I'm very excited to have all sorts of great conversations. I do want to kick it off, though, with a story that you all may have seen in the paper. This is coming from the Wisconsin Examiner. Baylor Spears with the byline. This came out yesterday, or actually came out this morning. Veterans housing sites are set to close in a month. A bipartisan fix appears out of reach. Calvin, I don't know about you, but it just seems pretty clear to me that, when it comes to funding and helping our vets, I don't feel like this should be something that is a back and forth. I'm going to give you the information on this, but just the title alone, Veterans housing sites are set to close in a month. A bipartisan fix out of reach. I don't know how that makes you feel, Calvin.
Well, I'm sure it makes me feel like how it makes most people feel, is frustrated, annoyed, bothered. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And yeah, let us know how you feel out there in Wisconsin on the live stream or on the Civic Media app, or you can always call at 855-52-4842.
Yeah. So last month, I'm gonna read from this article here. Less than a month before the planned closure of 2 Wisconsin sites, Republicans and Democrats they're not coming together to form a solution. Both sides are forming their own bills, and meanwhile, blaming each other on the lack of funding that is causing the closures. Governor Evers announced after the state budget last month, or actually 2 months ago now. Wow. Oh my gosh. That two veterans housing, they're called Veteran Housing and Recovery Program, VHRP. They're two sites, one in Chippewa Falls and one in Green Bay, will be closing at the end of this month because of a lack of funding from the state budget, which means that they could not come together in a state budget and find monies to fund these sites for our vets. These programs are run through the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs. They serve veterans who are on the verge or are already experiencing homelessness. Includes also people who've been incarcerated, unemployed. They may have physical or mental health problems. They get access to transitional housing, referrals to service providers, financial assistance, assistance to seeking vocational opportunities, and access to a room at a reduced rent for working veterans. These are great. Folks, any of this sound bad to you yet? Any of this sound like a waste of money to you yet? This is all funded through appropriations of the Veterans Trust Fund. Payments are made by program participants in a per diem payment, which is made by the agency to the federal government. Unfortunately, because of growing staffing and maintenance costs at the facilities, they needed more state support. And Governor Evers had included a financial or funding proposal in his budget, but it was removed by, wait for it, Calvin. You want to guess who? Guess who? Guess who removed it?
Was it?
He was one of them. Republican lawmakers removed a proposal to fund these sites. So state Senators Jeff Smith and Jamie Wall introduced a bill that would dedicate $1.9 million to the sites. That's what we're talking about here, folks. We're not talking about billions, hundreds of millions, not trillions. We're not looking for a big, beautiful deal for veterans. We're looking for $1.9 million to fund two sites to help vets who are going through it. People who have dedicated their time, some of them their lives, to our military, to our freedom. $1.9 million. And at a press conference, Senate Minority Leader Dianne Hesselbein urged Republicans to schedule a hearing for this bill and do it fast. Of course, citing the closures, they don't want people left out on the streets. According to the Associated Press, the state Senate is not planning to meet for a floor session this month. I don't know what to do with this information. There was a vote on this. State Senator Smith called the Republicans' lack of action callous, noting that the Democrats tried months ago to include funding in the budget when Democrats proposed an amendment to fund the housing sites in the state budget. Every Republican voted against it except for Andre Jacques of New Franken. Thank you. I'm being dead serious, State Senator Jacques. Thank you for your vote for this. It's unlikely that the Republican-led legislature will allow Democrats' bill to advance. But don't you worry, folks. On the other side, Andre Jacques and Representative Benjamin Franklin, that's his real name, Benjamin Franklin of De Pere, also have a $1.9 million bill for the VHRP program, as well as two other policy changes. There's some policy changes. They would require the Board of Regents of the University of Wisconsin to provide funding for the UW Missing in Action Recovery and Identification Project to support missions to recover and identify Wisconsin veterans who are missing. It's great. The other would lower the eligibility threshold for veterans and survivor spouses to claim the veterans and surviving spouses property tax credits. I don't know why they included those. I'm not against them. They have their reasons. That's fine. But Calvin, I don't know about you, but we have two sides of the aisle with $1.9 million bills, essentially. And the Republicans aren't going to take it up on the Democrat side. Jacques has said he found a lot of support from his Republican colleagues and hopeful that the bill will be referred to the state the State Committee on Natural Resources, Veteran and Military Affairs, which he actually chairs. In response to the question about Jacques' bill and whether Democrats are working with Republicans to advance funding for the facilities, Hesselbein brushed off the GOP bill, saying it's simply pulled from Democrats. I don't care which side put this together. Whoever did it first, $1.9 million. Some of you working in that building could pay for it out of your pocket. I am tired, sick to death tired of listening to politicians talk about how much they love vets, and we can't come together over $1.9 million. Republicans continually voted this down. This was not the first time, by the way, Kelvin, listeners, watchers. This was not the first time they voted down this funding. They knew this was coming. They knew they needed more funding, and yet it was constantly removed or voted down, and now it's not going to be taken up. Hopefully the bill that Senator Jacques put together is taken up. I have no idea. I cannot get over this. They are bickering back and forth about who did what to who. Meanwhile, there are real people, real vets who face homelessness because we, as legislators, and not me, I'm not one of them, can't get our junk together. Debbie from South Dakota on the phone line. Debbie, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, my dear. What say you to this?
So it's such a horrid trickle effect because the states get funding from the federal government. Somebody in the White House had to throw himself a big old parade, and a lot of that money could have been used for this.
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed.
Yeah.
Now, what he went on is, our vets, we're going to do this for our vets, and we're going to do this for our vets.
Yeah. Yeah.
It never happened.
No. And you're absolutely right, Debbie. $45 million for a parade. We could have taken a chunk of that. We could have funded this. And both sides of the aisle here in Wisconsin could have raised their hands and saying, we did it. But instead, we're doing this right now. We're back and forth. They did this. And I like I said, Debbie, I don't care. Pass one or the other bills. Just do it. There's no reason why we should be persnickety about these things. These are vets who are facing homelessness. Thank you so much, Debbie, for calling. I love you very much, and I miss you. Why did I say that, folks? That's my cousin. She's in South Dakota, and I love her a great deal. Thanks for calling, Debbie. I'll talk to you sooner than later. Please call us, text us. Let us know how you feel about this, because I read this, and I felt like, I'm not a parent, but I felt like the parent of two children who just can't get along right now, and just get your chores done. Get it done. Fix the problem. It's $1.9 million. Comment on the live stream. Give us a call. Send us a text, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You're listening to Matt and Air on air on the Civic Media Radio Network. We're going to keep it going. Stay tuned. Stay close.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt and Air on Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matt and Air, and we got Sweet Cal B behind the boards. And if you want to call or text, get in touch with us, 855-752-4842, 855-75-Civic. I did it right. You can leave a comment on the live stream, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the place we still call Twitter. And if you're just joining us right now, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. If you're wondering where Jane is, she is resting and relaxing, and she'll be back before you know it. But we were talking about a story in the Wisconsin Examiner, byline by Baylor Spears, about a bipartisan fix that seems out of reach to keep two veterans housing sites open. They're on schedule to close at the end of this month. They were not able to find funding in the budget. This is not the first budget they weren't able to find funding in. And the Democrats have a fix, and the Republicans have a fix. The Republicans probably won't take it up because the Senate isn't voting on anything this month. And it's both bills for $1.9 million. $1.9 million. And I ask you the question, how do you feel about something like that? Aren't we supposed to be protecting our veterans? Aren't we always talking about how important they are to us? Is $1.9 million too little to spend on them, or too much to spend on them, I should say? We're coming up on a date, an anniversary next week, a very important moment in American history where we throw a lot of words of well-wishing to veterans through social media. I think it's time for our lawmakers in Madison to put up or shut up. The fact that both sides can't get together on this, the fact that one has a bill and the other has a bill, and now they're just bickering about who did what to who when. Well, we're all doing this to the veterans together. Fix this. Tony on the live stream just simply says, furious. Yep. He also goes on to say, not having priorities in order to. It's just absolutely, it's sort of indicative of what goes on, especially I've seen in Madison too. It's just get the work done. You've got the thing in front of you. We got the budget done. Not everyone's happy, and I understand that. There's a lot of things in that budget I'm not happy about as well. You know, child care funding did not get funded to the extent it needed to. We didn't get K through 12 funding for schools here in Wisconsin for some reason. And $1.9 million wasn't approved for our veterans so they can make sure they keep out of homelessness and also thrive, not just survive, because they do the hard work that a lot of us, including myself, didn't do. I didn't sign up. They did. They deserve help. It's a contract. It's a deal. So I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're thinking about this. And Debbie called earlier and she said, yeah, we could have used some of that money from the parade to take it. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of money out there, but unfortunately, if it's the federal government, it's being given to the rich. If it's the state government, it's just not being funded. We got a lot of money in that. Calvin, we got a lot of money in that surplus, don't we? Enough to pay for this many times over, I thought. Am I wrong?
That's not our money, Greg.
Whose money is that?
It's Robin Voss's money.
You're right. And Robin Voss actually does not like being told what to do. He doesn't like having his power usurped. He doesn't like when he's not in control. And I bring that up for another reason, because in another story in the Wisconsin Examiner, also by Baylor Spears, I should be paying Baylor for all of this inside information. It's not. It's on their website. Go to wisconsinexaminer.com for more information on them, because they're great. It's a great news source here in Wisconsin. You would think it'd be very, very simple. Legislative committee approves pay rises that Evers already implemented. And the Joint Committee on Employment Relations unanimously approved pay rises for state and University of Wisconsin employees on Wednesday morning yesterday, but not without criticism from top Assembly Republicans of Governor Tony Evers' decision to implement ahead of the committee. You guessed it right before. Guess who's talking this time again, Calvin? Guess who's talking, who's upset with Tony Evers?
It's none other than the famous Popcorn King.
The Popcorn King is back. Assembly Speaker Robin Voss complained about Evers' actions before the committee voted Wednesday, saying Evers' administration is, quote, I love this, drunk with power, unquote, and is upending a process that, quote, that has literally worked for generations. No, it doesn't, Robin, because you all won't approve things, or you all won't pay for things that have been approved and allocated. So Governor Evers has to step around you and do something, because these individuals deserve pay raises. And if you don't think I'm correct, that's fine. But people who work in the university, people who have jobs, have a right to basic pay rises that keep up with inflation. And if you're saying, oh, they must be making millions of dollars, no. They're not. Again, Senate Minority Leader Dianne Hesselbein went to say, I'm glad that we're doing the adjustment, but I would have liked to note after a conversation with representatives of hardworking men and women throughout the state providing public services that the compensation for the average state employee does not remain 18% below inflation since 2012. While this is a small step in the right direction, we have a lot to do. We have a lot more to do going forward. PJ on the live stream said Robin Voss needs to take a long look in the mirror about who's drunk with power. Absolutely. Robin Voss, as you said earlier, and it's kind of like one of our mini slogans here. It's Robin Voss's money. We're just, he does what he wants with it. That money was allocated. It was implemented. It was ready to go. It needed the committee to. It didn't need the committee to do anything because, as we saw with the Evers versus Markline decision that came down, that basically that the committees, especially the Joint Finance Committee, they were not sending money through. They were not awarding money. They were not funding programs that had been voted on to be funded. And the courts basically said this is ridiculous and you can't. And 6-1, by the way. 6-1. One of those was I can't think of his name right now, but he is not a liberal judge. He is not a liberal judge. So this is another example of our lawmakers just not playing nice with each other, and it's costing us. It's costing our vets. So we're going to go grab some snacks, grab some water. I need a snack and some water. I'm getting dehydrated here. So when we come back, Jim Santel, host of Amicus, a law review, will be here to talk about all things in the law world. Don't go anywhere. Stay close. Stay tuned. You're listening to Matt and Air on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. Welcome back to Matt and Air on Air. My name is Greg Box, sitting in for Jane Mattinair, who is currently vacating, relaxing, resting deservedly. She'll be back before you know it, and she misses you. You're listening to the show here on the Civic Media Radio Network. You can call or commentate as you see fit. Call or text, the same number is the same, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You can also leave a comment on the live stream. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and the site we still call Twitter. Hey, folks, if you have the Civic Media app, tomorrow is Friday, which means Free Ticket Friday is coming up. You know what that means. And we're going to give you a keyword during the show. You're going to text it in through the Civic Media app, and you will enter in for a chance to win a 4-pack of club-level tickets to see the Brewers take on the St. Louis Cardinals on Saturday, September the 13th. You got to have the Civic Media app to participate. So all you got to do, if you don't have it, go to your app store of choice, whether it be the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. I don't know if there's any other places to get apps, Calvin, but those are the two main spots. Download the Civic Media app. It's absolutely free. That's a pun. And you can participate in all of our free ticket giveaways, our statewide ticket contest. We are going to be doing a statewide text-to-win contest later in a few weeks. Have more information about that. But for now, to participate tomorrow in Free Ticket Friday, you need to get that Civic Media app. Wait for that keyword. Text it in spelled correctly, and you will be entered. There'll be 5 chances throughout the day to enter, and you will be hopefully going to a game with 3 of your friends to see the Brewers take on St. Louis on this 13th of September. So once again, tomorrow, Free Ticket Friday. Get that Civic Media app in your life, and you will be happier for it. You're welcome. Now, a person who makes me very happy to be around because he is just so smart, so informed, so amazing, so good-hearted. He is the host of Amicus, a law review, which is on every single Saturday. He is also a former U.S. attorney, current practicing attorney, and just a good guy all around. He brings snacks to the studio when he does his show. I know that because I've done it, and I'll be there on Saturday, and we're excited. So Jim Santel is our guest, as always, on Thursdays. Jim, how are you doing this morning?
Greg, good to be with you. As always, looking forward to Saturday. We'll tell you later on what the snacks on Saturday may well be.
Yeah.
But also setting a very high bar this morning. I don't know if I can live up to that, but we'll give it a shot. Given everything that's going on, as we always say, you and I and others, it's a lot, right? It's a lot. So,
oh, it's a lot. Well, we're going to kick things off locally here in Milwaukee, southeastern Wisconsin. We talked about this a little bit last week, but there was a development. Small development in the case against Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan.
Right, absolutely. And so we talked last week on this very broadcast about the fact that the presiding judge, his name is Lynn Edelman. He's a federal trial court judge. He's been there for a very long time. He's got a very good reputation in terms of wrestling with the issues. He decided to deny the motion. Basically, it was a 2-part motion from Hannah Dugan to dismiss the case against her. This is the federal indictment against her for obstructing the actions of federal officers. And he said, you know what, we're going to wait until there's a trial on this. He said there really is no judicial immunity at this point, and also said there's really not a 10th Amendment issue with respect to the state and the federal government being kind of mixed up together. And so he denied those. And the reason why this is significant back again in the news is that everyone anticipated. I shouldn't say everything. Now I'm sounding like our president, don't I? Many people are
me, saying, right, Jim. Right. People are talking.
Nobody knew. But maybe that's when many people anticipated that, given the fact that he denied those motions, that the judge, through her attorneys, would take what's called an interlocutory appeal, go to the Seventh Circuit and get their review on it. just because that is, again, part of the process. There's nothing wrong with that. It's due process. And it also has some strategic advantages just in terms of maybe slowing some things down, which almost always is to the advantage of the defense. I mean, things happen over time if things are delayed. Interesting that the judge, through attorneys, announced just this past week that they're not going to be appealing that, and they'll go ahead with trial. The judge then set it on for trial coming up in December. And the reason why I think we're talking about it, you and I and Calvin, and maybe your listeners as well, is interesting strategy here. No obligation, obviously, to appeal. It would not be irregular for her to do that. But as I thought through it, again, a number of important civics issues coming out of this. One, of course, is the client always makes the decision, right? It's not the lawyers on these big ticket items. We think it's always the lawyers. Some strategic things, yes. But my guess is that Hannah Dugan said, you know what? I'm on administrative leave. I am sitting at home right now. I'm doing things in the community. I would like this to be resolved. And as long as if we go to the Seventh Circuit, it might be tried sometime in 2026, maybe 2027.
Oh my gosh.
Given the time that the Seventh Circuit could take on this, you never know how long this could be. And she probably said, you know what, I'm a circuit court judge. Let's go to trial. And I've got legitimate defenses, factual defenses. There may be other things to raise. Let's do this. And so she said, let's go ahead. And again, it appears it will be on for December. Could move again depending upon other pretrial matters that happened here, but something of a small s surprise, but not completely unanticipated given the interest that she may have. Obviously, the government and the people have an interest in an expedited trial. Another footnote is she can always raise these issues if there is a conviction after this trial and she is sentenced by the judge. She can then appeal everything, including these pretrial motion decisions by Judge Edelman. So she doesn't waive it, doesn't give it up entirely, just postpones that down the road. And I think what she's saying is, let's go to trial. Let's get the merits of this out there. Let's get the people to understand what this case was and was not about. And it is, and good for her, good for the government, again, good for expedited justice, right? Yeah. To move forward and get some resolution on these things as opposed to talking about 2026 or 2027.
Now, a couple of questions I have for you is, was there a chance that the judge, I mean, I know they went for a dismissal on other aspects, but could the judge have just looked at the video and simply said, there's nothing here that shows any sort of wrongdoing, dismissed completely? Or as you put it, I think last week, it's advantageous to the defense for a jury to see this video to make up their own minds, to sort of protect them from the start. Because if a judge says no, it's dismissed, they can come back and say there can be other problems. But sending it to a jury actually is better in the long run, I believe. Is that what you said?
I think so. I mean, I think we embrace the system of trial by jury. It's not common, frankly, on the face of the planet. We should know that. We are not alone, but most places have just trials by judges, right? Here we go based upon the Constitution. This is a federal case. We've gotten the state constitution as well. We rely on the people of our community to make a determination about what the facts say. And that's really what the judge was saying in denying the motion, too, which is let's have some people come in and let's have them listen to what the facts are all about this. Let's talk about in detail who said what to whom. Where were you positioned? Inside the courtroom, outside the courtroom? What were you doing? What were the conversations? How did this look? Was there really obstruction or was there something else going on? Where were people located? All those kinds of things in the weeds. Let's get that on the docket. And so it kind of is the video review of this that a jury should take a look at. Judges do have some capacity if the government wholly fails either to allege something in an indictment or wholly fails to prove it at the end of their case. It's called a judgment notwithstanding it's a directed verdict. But it would be unusual in a criminal case for the judge completely to take it away from a jury. And again, I think that everybody is looking at this and saying, let's look at what exactly happened here. We've seen the video, but they're plainly video, as we know, doesn't always tell everything. Let's get people in the stand to describe who they talked to, what was going on. And maybe, just maybe, the judge may choose. She isn't obliged to do it. She's got a Fifth Amendment right not to, but maybe she gets on the stand also. I think the jury may want to hear from her when she says, you know what, presumably she will, I had no intent to derail the attempts by the agents. I was doing just the opposite. and she would take that position, that's a credibility determination, right? The jury can make then, and as with other agents. So this is a movement, I would say, in the right direction, although once again, a bit of a surprise in terms of what lawyers normally do and do not do.
If you're just joining us on Matt and Aaron Air, we are speaking to the host of Amicus, a law review. His name is Jim Santel. He is a former U.S. attorney, a current practicing attorney. His show is on every Saturday on the Civic Media Radio Network at 9 a.m. It's like a 2-hour masterclass in law school. Don't shake your head, Jim. Don't blush. Take a compliment. Let's move along. Another quick question, and this is just something that popped into my brain, but from your experience in a situation like this where she is going to be out of her job for at least 6-8 months, possibly a year. Does she have recourse to get money back if they find her not guilty? I mean, the Wisconsin Supreme Court took away her right to be a judge as part of the process. There was nothing untoward or out of procedure for that. But if she goes a year without working and then they find her not guilty, does she have recourse to get money's back, or is she just that's just, I mean, sorry it happened, but you're welcome back?
Right, that's always the good question. My understanding is the Supreme Court placed her on administrative leave, and that means that she's still a circuit court judge. My understanding is that she is still getting compensated for that position. That's administrative leave as opposed to just leave or dismissal. And if that is not the case, if there's some other things that she is no longer getting benefits from, then plainly she can go back to the court through the administrative process and recoup some of that. But I believe, I'll have to check on exactly what the order said about this, I believe that she is still getting paid, which again is another reason for the people of Wisconsin to say, let's get the benefit of our payment to this judge, right? Let's get her back on the bench and go ahead. And so all sorts of good things could come from a more expedited trial here, yes.
Now, and the other thing, too, I want to touch on this because I want to reiterate the sheer gravity of this case because when it first happened, this was, ICE was just starting the detainments. All of these things were going on, and they had arrested a judge in the courthouse in Milwaukee. It made national news, and if she is found not guilty, because as far as I'm aware, I have not seen any other judges around the country being arrested. This was kind of the first time, and so far, fingers crossed, the only time we see it happen. But what kind of message does this send if she's found not guilty as well? Do you think there is a version of this where the federal government says, it's not worth our time? I mean, we've only got one. It ended up being not guilty. We can focus our attention somewhere else.
You would like to think that. It should
I
send
would love
some
to think
messages,
that.
especially, right.
Yeah.
That you would like to think the U.S. Attorney's Office, U.S. Department of Justice, headed up by Pam Bondi, would look at that if there is, in fact, a finding of not guilty and acquittal by a jury, that, gosh, maybe we should rethink our strategy on all of this. There was one other case out east a year or so ago. Case was dismissed by a judge. A case was against a judge, similar circumstances. But as you said, Greg, this has attracted worldwide attention, and nationwide attention, worldwide attention. And if, in fact, whatever the verdict may be after the jury comes back here, is going to get a lot of focus, and again, whatever the direction may be, if there is an acquittal here, it does send a dramatic message again. As this president and this attorney general are getting all the time from judges and courts to step back, not to do this, and to go in a different direction, to do traditional law enforcement where you're not raising these issues about the involvement of the federal government in state matters. And you like to think that, again, our attorney general would take that to heart. We know because he does it again just recently. He would attack the jury, right? A crazy jury in Milwaukee, and that's what he does when he doesn't get a decision he likes. That should not be the case. So we'll see what happens.
All right, we're going to keep our conversation with Jim Santel going. When we return, a huge decision in favor of a major university. To find out more, stay close, stay tuned to Matt and Aaron on Air. You're listening on the Civic Media Radio Network. Get some water, get a snack. Come on back. We'll see you in a bit.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt and Air on Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matnair, who is currently vacating and doing it deservedly. She'll be back before you know it, and she sends her love and she misses you. But you can always be a part of the show by calling or texting. It's the same number, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC, or leave a comment on the live stream. It's on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. We are speaking with Jim Santel, who is the host of Amicus, a law review, which is available every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Actually, the show takes place live on Saturdays. It's always available by going to civicmedia.us/shows, where you can find the show. You can download it and listen to it on your device anytime, anywhere. Like I said, 2 hours of law school class every Saturday with Jim. He's also a former U.S. attorney, current practicing attorney, my friend, your friend. Bring your snacks and mirth, and we are going to talk now about a decision that came down this week regarding a lawsuit against the Trump administration and finding in favor of Harvard University.
It's a big deal for a number of reasons, right? It's an academic issue. It is a ruling, again, as we said in the previous segment, my friend, telling the Trump administration, you can't do this, knock it off, stop it. This comes way back in April. We first began to chat about it on this fine broadcast. In April, you may recall the administration, Donald Trump, sends a letter to Harvard saying that your access to federal research money is going to dry up and you got to do some things to change what you're doing. You got to be audited by us. You have to establish merit-based admissions programs, hiring practices. You got to shut down all that DEI stuff that you're doing there in Cambridge. And we're going to examine your programs and departments that most fuel harassment or reflect ideological capture, whatever that means. So in other words, basically, we're taking over Harvard, right? And so Harvard doesn't take lightly to this and, as you said, files a lawsuit, federal court in Boston. And we always like to identify those judges who are out there who are, from my perspective, I think yours as well, most of your listeners, doing the right thing. This is Allison Burroughs, Burroughs. She's a U.S. District Judge in Boston. She's just like Lynn Edelman here in Milwaukee. She's the same kind of thing. She's a trial judge out there. And she once again says, nope, can't be doing this. This is a violation. And along the way, she basically says that the government has broken the law. You have violated the law by freezing billions of dollars in research for Harvard in the name of stamping out anti-Semitism. It is a First Amendment case. And she goes on to say this. She said, yes, indeed, we have to fight anti-Semitism, but we equally need to protect our rights, including our right to free speech. And neither goal should nor needs to be sacrificed on the altar of the other. Isn't that great language?
The
84 pages
of
this, she goes on, right? Harvard, she says, is currently, even if belatedly, taking steps it needs to take to combat anti-Semitism and seems willing to do even more if need be. Now, it is the job of the courts to similarly step up, to act to safeguard academic freedom and freedom of speech as required by the Constitution, Mr. President, and to ensure that important research is not improperly subjected to arbitrary and procedurally infirm grant terminations, even if doing so risks the wrath of a government committed to its agenda, no matter the cost. Wow. Those are words from a district court judge telling Donald Trump, telling the education department, telling everybody, the litigators too, from the Department of Justice, back off.
Yeah.
You've got no authority to do this. Big deal.
Absolutely. And I imagine, what I think one of the other points of this whole lawsuit that's important is that, I don't think there is a more targeted university for rhetoric than Harvard. Yes. From the Republicans. They love to hate on education. They love to look at Ivy League schools that, for better or for worse, have a proven track record of providing some of the greatest scholars of our time. And what I think is funny is that their whole thing against DEI, well, that's fine. You don't like DEI and you want merit-based, then some of those buddies of yours who work in the administration, their kids aren't going either because they're not good enough to get in, no matter how many millions of dollars you put into building a cafeteria. So, yeah, this seemed like, there's been a lot of, I want to say, wins for democracy coming down the pike this week, and we're going to talk about one. And actually, you've been very nice enough to stay on for the next segment because I want to talk about a decision that came out of an LA courthouse this week, but I also want to discuss how it pertains to Milwaukee and how it pertains to other big cities. And we're going to talk more about that on the other side after the news. But that is the kind of decision, Jim, that I like to print out, kick my feet up with a nice glass of apple juice and just read, because for me personally, there's nothing better than reading a decision that has just the best language. And this one really does say, stop it, knock it off. You can't do this.
Exactly. And it's what can't you do? You can't step on academic freedom, right? Mm-hmm. That's what universities and colleges are all about, and trade schools, other places of learning. We want them to engage in research because we get better by doing that. And when you cut that off, you're literally cutting off our academic lifelines to the future. That's what she's saying. I can't agree more, Greg. It's very readable. Judge Burroughs has written a readable opinion. And she's also basically sort of challenged, if you will, when you think about Harvard. Let's count the number of Supreme Court justices who are graduates of Harvard. It's Harvard, Yale, right? And no one yet from the University of Chicago, my alma mater, but maybe one day. Yeah. But the reality is that this has been, as you said, both the attractive kicking a focus for an awful lot of people, but also the source of an awful lot of academic start. It's our first college, our first university in the nation, and it stands today as an important ruling. We'll see what the appeals court does on this. Would like to think they would reaffirm her. Maybe goes up to the Supreme Court again. But today, a real stand for education in America.
Well, when we come back from our snack time and our water time after the news, we're going to go from the East Coast judge saying no to a West Coast judge saying no, and how that decision coming out of Los Angeles applies to Milwaukee. You're listening to Matt and Air on Air. We are talking to Jim Santel, host of Amicus, a law review, who I've heard is going to be hosting tonight for Maggie Dawn, but we'll talk about more of that in a little bit. But yeah, stay close, stay tuned. You're listening to us on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.